All right, welcome on into this episode of First CSP, the channel dedicated to bringing you the first council shoulder patch issued from each council in Scouting America, both past and present. Today we're going to take a look at Modoc Area 494 out of Oregon. The council was chartered in 1936 and existed up until 1993 when it was absorbed by Crater Lake 491. Now, if we look at the most current collecting guides, we are going to find that the first issue is listed as S1 with the second issue as S2. However, if we go back to previous collecting guides, and we generally like to work from the 2004 guide, we will find that there were an A and B variation for both the S1 and the S2. We do have all of those to take a look at here today. So let's head on over to the patch table and look at what was formerly the S1A for Modoc Area. We do find that it is defined with its yellow border, light blue sky, red letters, and purple mountains. It is the color of the mountains that the collecting guide in 2004 used as the major distinction between the S1A and the S1B. The S1A having purple mountains and the S1B having dark purple mountains. However, we have some other contextual clues. They're actually a little easier to identify between the two, and we'll point those out here in just a second. Let's take a look at the back. We have the standard older style cloth back for this one on the S1A. Now, in addition to the difference in the color of the mountains, when we take a look at the S1B here in a moment, we are going to note that the letters are going to be much thicker. So that is a distinction. But the easiest thing to look to is actually the fire here at the center of the patch. You'll notice on the S1A that the flames are kind of floating above the logs. They're not in contact with the three logs forming the fire pit. That floating flame is going to be the distinction for you to visually identify the S1A. The color in the mountains is decidedly different, but if you only have one of the patches, it can be exceptionally difficult to decide whether you are looking at purple versus dark purple. You really have to have both of them next to each other to be able to see that distinction. So the fire pit makes it a lot easier to see the difference. Let's take a look at the S1B here, and then we will put them head to head. So immediately, drawing your attention to the fire here on the S1B, we see the flames are now on top of the logs, and you can't see that intersection point of the three logs like you could with the flame floating above it in the S1A. We are going to find that the mountains are darker purple here, and as I mentioned, this text is going to be much thicker when compared visually with the S1A. Flipping over to the back, they do actually look pretty similar from the back here on the S1B, same cloth style construction. I would assume that these production runs were pretty close to each other, and it does appear that they were probably also the same manufacturer. We'll go ahead and move this down towards the bottom, see if we can get both of these in the frame so we can make those visual comparisons together here. So as you'll see, we get thicker text on the S1B, we have thinner text on the S1A, we've got the purple mountains on the S1A and the darker purple mountains on the S1B. They do look distinctly different here in person, and maybe even more so than when they show up on camera. But if you only had one, how to know if you have purple versus dark purple would be very, very difficult. Again, we can see the difference in the depiction of the fire becomes the clearest way to tell just looking at one at a time. The floating above the logs flame is the S1A, and the flame directly on top of the logs is the S1B. Again, if you were to look at this listing in a current collecting guide or the most current from 2023, they're just going to say S1. So they don't give you those distinctions in the most current guide. It is the older collecting guides that will make a difference there. So that's the first issue. We'll go ahead and take a look at the S2 A and B as well. Depicts the same imagery, but now adds the fleur-de-lis. So described as yellow border, light blue sky, red fleur-de-lis, red letters. So same imagery here on the S2. Now moved to plastic backing. This is our S2A, similar to the S1s. If you were to look this up in a more modern collecting guide, it's just going to say S2. It's not going to give you an A and B variation, but the older collecting guides did break these into an A and B. So the A was light blue sky and red letters. And then the B is going to be a bright blue sky and orange red letters and fleur-de-lis. So this would be our S2B. Take a look very quickly here at the back, and then we'll put them up head to head. You will see quite a difference in the sky color and the lettering text. So the much paler sky is going to be your S2A. The nice bright blue sky is your S2B. And again, we see the difference with the red letters in fleur-de-lis in the S2A and the orange red, as they're calling them, letters in the S2B. And that takes you through the first issues here with Modoc Area. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Again, we have brand new episodes every single day. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. Please feel free to give it a like and tell your friends. We love sharing this information with all of you, and I really appreciate you guys coming back every single day and watching the videos. It's really fun for us. We hope it's fun for you as well. We will see you back here tomorrow, but until then, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you for tuning in.